Welcome back to another episode of the Shared Voices podcast, brought to you by the 1042 Project. We got Jake back with us again. Hello, Jake.
Hey, Dan. Glad to be here again.
We got an awesome guest with us, Amanda.
Hello.
Amanda, how you doing, Amanda? Amanda's got so much to share, and I'm so excited for her to be here, guys. Number one, she's a first responder, but apparently everybody in her family's first responders. Man, she's one of us, guys. And she also, I brought her on to talk about ketamine treatment. And before you turn this off and kind of freak out, ketamine treatment is an actual legal treatment that is being used to help people and first responders, because we're people too, believe it or not, with their mental health and some other things. So I'm going to bring her on to talk about that, because I'm not the specialist, but she is. And she is actually from the Iowa area. So we're going to have her on. But before we start, I just want to thank everybody for listening, give you a few updates. If you have not signed up to be an ambassador, if you're in the state of Iowa or the surrounding area and you want to be an ambassador for our organization, send an email to Dan at 10-42project.org, dan-42project.org. We're looking for more first responder family members who want to help get equipped to go out and to be a light for your area, for people in your part of the state, to walk along other first responders, if you're family members, to walk along other spouses to help walk along other spouses. We're looking for ambassadors. We get calls all the time of first responders that need help, need support, and we're asking you guys to step up, be part of our organization, and volunteer to be an ambassador. So if that sounds interesting to you, reach out. You can go to 10-42project.org. Also, we're in the need. We're growing quick. We need some office space. We're praying that God will provide some free office space, the bigger the better, to set up our podcast studios, to set up our meeting rooms where we meet with people and not counsel them, but we coach them, talk with them. We bring in counselors to talk with them. We need a space. And we're trusting that someone out there has got office space or knows somebody that's got office space that's available, that they would be willing to donate to a 501c3 to use. So if that's you or somebody you know or your business, please reach out to us. Again, it's Dan at 10-42project.org, or you can just call me at 515-350-6274. And thank you. All right, let's get started, Amanda. All right, I got a list of questions, and I'll try not to interrupt you as best as I can. And I'm bringing on Jake because Jake's had some ketamine treatments. So it's like I got the patient. I've got is it a doctor? Or nurse practitioner? Or I'll let you say what it is. Introduce yourself and give us a little intro.
Yep, my name's Amanda Sieve. I am a physician assistant, and I specialize in IV ketamine treatments and intranasal ketamine, which is also called Spravato. And I have been doing that for a year and a half now. And so that's kind of has now become my passion, because I've noticed how well it improves my patient base. And for all the people that are stuck in their either depression, anxiety, PTSD episodes, or just even need a mind reset.
So, a couple questions. Are you a first responder? Is that what you told me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's before we go in too deep, let's talk about that, because I didn't know that. Jake had me invite you on, and then I heard you got on here and you said you're a first responder, and the reason why I react because to me it is a big deal, because when we have, our organization, I should probably get my microphone back. Sorry about that, amateur. But
I can go to my history for first responder.
Yeah, sorry. So be able to have our listeners and our first responders be able to come and listen to another first responder talk about treatment, and you're the person that gives the treatment, and you're a first responder and a spouse of a first responder. I think you're the perfect person. So,
yep. Okay.
Tell us about your first responderness.
Yep. So I grew up in West Des Moines. My mom was a Des Moines firefighter, and she was a paramedic on West Des Moines EMS. So my entire childhood growing up, I was part of a 911 household. I'm actually a fourth generation first responder. My grandma and my great grandma were also dispatch, police, and paramedics. So that's
strong
kind of
woman line.
Yes,
I love it.
The female side of things. So initially, I had some interest in the medical field, but not so much. So I ended up going to college. When I got done, I was just trying to figure out what worked for me, and I ended up taking an EMT class, and that kind of got me into the first responder occupation. I have been on a volunteer fire department for 10 years. While I was there, actually, I started working there with my husband, and he didn't have anything either, so we just did it more for fun. And then I ended up going to school to become a physician assistant because I figured out that as EMTs, I wanted to do more for my patients. So then I decided to go to PA school. And then I ran as a PA exempt is what it's called. So I can run as a paramedic under the scope of a paramedic. So I ran as a paramedic for on the fire department for, I graduated, so it'd be 7 years after that.
Wow.
As a higher level care. And then when I got my PA, I actually work in the emergency department. So continuity of care of patients. So when our first responders would drop off our patients, I would then take care of them and then work alongside nursing staff, which I feel like is a huge component to the first responder world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, you're like Superwoman. Holy cow. That's awesome. So how did you go from that to now we're on a podcast talking about ketamine?
So 3-4 years ago, I wanted to give IV fluids to patients because sometimes some patients just need IV fluids instead of going to the ER and getting a full workup, getting imaging done, like if they had the stomach bug, stomach flu. So I looked into what it would take in order to start my own business that way. So we could do like mobile home services. We could go to patients' homes, or they could come to us. We do different events as well, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. We just finished up with RAGBRAI as well, doing IV fluids. One of my preceptors actually asked me 2 years ago if I would be interested in doing IV ketamine. I didn't know much about it, so I started doing my research, my studying, asking the pharmacists how it was involved. So I did a lot of research and then started doing IV ketamine treatment, and then Spravato came to be a thing as well, so kind of added that into the treatment course. So it all started with the IV fluids, hydration, and then added in the ketamine side of things. So we still offer both.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So when she says that she is doing ketamine, she doesn't mean that she herself, well, maybe she is, but she's talking about medically ministering. Yeah. Just want to make sure. So, I gotta say it slow for the firefighters. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Simmer down, guys and girls. Yeah. All right. Wow. So tell me. Let's get into some science of it, because first responders, man, we're gonna pick it apart. We need some evidence. You got to prove this to us. So let's talk about some science on how in the world ketamine could possibly help somebody with PTSD, depression. What other issues can it help with?
Yep.
How can you explain that, would you?
Yep. So going into the physiology part of things, most of your antidepressants actually inhibit your hormones. So it stops certain hormones from occurring, so you don't have too much or too less of hormones. Whereas ketamine actually enhances your memory formation. So how you make your memories, that's what it essentially works on. So certain memories will come into thought during your treatment session, and it actually replaces it with more of a positive feeling, because while you're on the ketamine, you have what I like to describe as a floating feeling. So just you're still present, you're still there, you still know what's going on, you can open your eyes and see things, but it's more like a more positive experience versus the negative thoughts that initially caused that memory.
So what's happening during that time? So walk me into this. I gotta back up real quick. So walk me in. So a first responder wants to get a hold of Amanda because you're going to be opening your clinic soon. Is that correct?
Yep. October 1st is hopefully our date.
October 1st. And you're going to be located where? In Central Iowa?
Yep. West Des Moines.
West Des Moines.
Yep.
Okay. So once you're open, let's just, first responders listening, and him and his wife, or her and her husband are sitting there and they're like, wow, we should really try this. And what's the next steps? Walk us through what that is, and a little bit of, again, the next steps of how to do it, the whole process, because our first responders need to mentally be able to see what it's like. Yep. We like to remove any and all fears that people have to get help, and one of them is just trying to picture it, and then to listen to somebody that's been through it, like Jake.
Sure. Yep. So most patients may be referred by a mental health provider, but if they don't have one, they can still call the office and schedule a consult with me. And basically in the consult, we kind of talk a little bit about a history. We don't get too deep into things, but we talk about just kind of what medications they've been on before to see if they qualify for the Spravato, and that's the intranasal ketamine, just because that is covered by insurance. And so essentially that's most of the time cheaper for patients. IV ketamine is also an option. They both work the same. It's just one's covered by insurance, one is not. So they do the consult with me. We discuss the pros and cons. They get the information. They don't necessarily have to schedule right then and there. They can think about it. I give them the information that they need, so they have time to go back and research it themselves. But once we get approval from insurance, or if they say, yes, I want to go ahead and do IV ketamine, we then schedule their treatment plan. And that's initially twice a week for 4 weeks. So they come in for their treatment session, either 1 or 2 hours, depending on what treatment they're doing. And during that treatment, initially the first one, they're usually confused on what they're supposed to be doing. So they're like, I'm not sure I like this. But once they get into the second and the third, I'm sure Jay can vouch for that too. The second and the third, it's like, oh, okay, now I know how I'm feeling. Now I can just sit here and relax. I think the most important thing is sitting, relaxing, and it's I always call it a spa day for your brain. So it actually just quiets your brain for all the thoughts that we have going 24/7. So it slows everything down. Some sessions you'll have thoughts that come in and you're able to process them. Sometimes you won't have any thoughts at all. You'll have a timeout for 1 hour or 2 hours. And then after the session, you will have to have a driver home. Can't drive until you basically take a nap. No big life decisions, selling your house, anything like that. But then after that, they can function as normal. When they leave the clinic, usually they can talk, walk as normal. It's just they can't drive.
So they get driven home and then what, basically just chill in the recliner for a while?
Yeah.
Go to bed?
Yep. Just go on with your normal day. And
Are the effects still, meaning that the thoughts, the spa for the brain, as you said, is that the effects of it still happening while you're at home too?
No. So usually when they leave, they feel back to normal. So their brain just slowly comes back to what it has been. I've had patients go to therapy right afterwards. It sounds like that has been very beneficial for the ones that do go straight to therapy. But you don't have to do anything in specific that day. What I do suggest for most people is to journal what they feel each day, just to see if we have improvement. And we do different anxiety and depression screenings just to kind of see the progression and improvement throughout treatment, or if we have some setbacks, what could have caused that, those kinds of things throughout the treatment sessions.
Dan, I can tell you, the first handful of times I did it, I did just go straight home and just chill. But at this point, after being used to it, first of all, the effects end sooner. They just wears off sooner. And I have actually got to a point where I like to run or lift, like when I get home. I don't know. I'm probably weird. I'm probably the anomaly there, but my point is, by the time you get home, you can really do most anything you want.
Okay, so how's that differ then from, man, I've had multiple surgeries. Like when you come out of surgery and you're so like, all you want to do is just fall back into deep sleep. And for the rest of the day, usually with surgery, you don't feel like doing crap.
So they
Obviously
give you
your body's not getting worked on, but isn't it the same type
Yeah.
of medicine that they use?
It depends on what they use for sedation. Usually for sedation, they use more of a sedative versus this one. It's a short acting. The half-life comes out as soon as, an hour or two afterwards. So you really feel back to normal.
So it doesn't hold on like a narcotic or...
Correct.
Okay.
And like usually they use Versed, which is a benzodiazepine. And that's what causes you to be tired.
Gotcha.
I've had some of my best runs within the last month after ketamine treatment. I don't like step out the door and just take off running. There's usually an hour or two that goes by, but running is like kind of a form of meditation to me, and so it's just like almost a continuation of the treatment.
Yep.
And there is, it is a dissociative anesthetic, and so there is like, I believe it causes has an effect on inflammation in the body. Is that right?
Correct.
And
in a good or bad way?
It decreases.
Oh, praise God. That's what I need too.
And so I just feel like in a way I can run a little bit longer and like a little bit easier.
And that's another thing too. Your depression is kind of factored in with pain as well for the patients that have chronic pain. So ketamine is actually also used for chronic pain, and there is a different dosing for that. So we can actually treat patients with just chronic pain on a lower dose, and it will help their depression in the long run too. So all depending on your dosing, we're either treating depression or pain, but that depression level is still treating the pain. I actually had a patient that was coming in for IV ketamine just for pain control after a hip replacement. So it was actually replacing the narcotics that they sent her home with.
Wow. That's double bonus right there. Because I have been addicted to narcotics. That's part of my story, is addiction to hydrocodone pills.
Yep.
And I'm not the only one. It's pretty common in the first responder world throughout the country.
And
I've had those issues too, as you know, Dan. And I can tell you that I don't really know why the ketamine does not feel to me like it has an addictive quality. Even as a guy who can get addicted to most anything,
Mhm.
it just has never felt that way to me. I can't really say why, I guess.
I have had a lot of patients ask about addiction for the medication, and it's usually the feeling that they have while they're on it is what they get addicted to. It's not necessarily an addiction. They just like the way their mind rests. So the important thing is throughout treatment, getting to that state without the medication in between your treatment days. So whether you go running or you go lift or go color or watch a movie, getting to those spots without that medication.
So do you when people take the medicine, you walk in and it's a nose spray, right? Like
no spray,
more than one or something, right? Or a couple.
Yep. 2 at one time, and then you wait 5 minutes, do another 2 sprays. And then once they go up to the higher dose, which is usually after the first time, then we do a third time at 15 minutes.
Okay. So then do you just sit them in a room and they sit there?
Yep. They sit in the room by themselves. I've had patients have eye massage masks to cover their eyes. Some patients don't like their eyes covered. I always suggest for them to bring their own headphones, so then that way they can listen to their own meditation music to kind of get rid of all the other noise that might be happening in the office. But usually it's pretty quiet, and they basically just sit there. I check their vitals when they first get there, and then I check it at 40 minutes. And that 40 minutes is usually that peak feeling. And so when I go in and check on them, they are feeling good. And then they start to come down from the sensation or the side effects of the ketamine. And then after 2 hours, like Jake said, he's ready to up and go and walk out of there without any problems.
Dan, my experience, the first couple of times I went in there, like Amanda said, especially the first time, I had no idea what was going to happen. And when I left, I was kind of like, what? I feel better, but what was that? Like, it just kind of was like a hurricane that came and went pretty quick. But once I got to know, like what the purpose of it was, and I did some reading and, got on Reddit and got some, other people's experiences, I started using an eye mask and headphones. And especially for those of us with ADHD, I felt that without the eye mask and without some music, I was getting distracted by everything. Even under this, somewhat sedated state or relaxed state, I was going and I was just thinking about anything and everything, and it was just kind of useless. But if I can block off my eyes and just, pick the right kind of music, there are some Spotify playlists that are actually called like best ketamine playlist or like ketamine treatment or like deep recovery for ketamine. And I've tried a couple of those, and that's when I really can just let, like she said, I can kind of let, it's almost like EMDR. You kind of just want to let whatever comes up come up. And that's when I've got the most benefit out of it.
And with those videos and that music that you use during treatment, if you ever have a situation where you're not in ketamine treatment and it is a stressful trigger, I always suggest using those videos, listening to them again without that ketamine. So then that kind of brings you down to the level of, during your treatment session. So it's kind of also a good outlet to, in the event that you can't get to a ketamine treatment, if you're having, either nightmares, night terrors, PTSD episode.
I would assume that's because you're probably forming some sort of pathway. Interesting. I didn't know that. That's beneficial to me potentially.
Yep.
So that, because it's there's actual science going on inside the brain when you take the medicine, right? Like it's helping let's go back to the pathways, because if I remember right from the
Yeah.
doctor I heard over in Chicago, yeah, I don't know, just explain that to me more, because doesn't it change like the neural pathways where you can like change your thought processes and stuff?
So, and Jake's probably has heard this spiel
Let's hear
before. I basically describe it as a blanket of snow on your memories. So you have your memories, and then you have a blanket of snow that goes down. It doesn't erase your memories; they're still there, but you're responsible for making new tracks of your memories going forward. So they'll come up during the treatment session with the ketamine, and then you make those new positive feeling, positive tracks. And some things may come up that you didn't realize bothered you, and you process it in a different way, and then therefore have a better outlook of something else. And I will say ketamine is nice as far as you don't have to talk to people about things. I feel like in the first responder world, we, like you said before, we have to be those pillars. We have to be strong for everybody else. Sometimes it's hard to express that information. So this ketamine is used to help process the stuff that bothers you without verbalizing it. Yes, verbalizing it helps, but it may help in the future with a therapist at a different time, or a friend or a family member, but it makes it less traumatic bringing up that topic later.
So what if you're like me and my brain a lot of times will default negative everything. So what if you go in there, you take a ketamine treatment, and you're remembering your memories, but you're not making new positive pathways. You're reliving the trauma of it, or the stress and the anxiety. Like, will that come back, or does this kind of depress that?
It helps depress that. There has been a couple patients in which they have become more anxious because of the treatment sessions. So ketamine works on depression. So usually you have your anxiety and your depression, and they're like leveling each other out. This takes care of the depression, so you feel less depressed. If anything, you feel a little bit more anxious. So it's more managing that anxiousness because it doesn't have that depression to counteract it. We do have a couple different modalities as far as Jake hasn't tried this one yet, but it's called alpha stim. It's basically like a neurotransmitter, like a TENS unit on your ears that I've used with patients that are extremely anxious, but it helps ground them if they do have a more anxiety provoking session. But usually with those, if I have patients that are having a bad session, which is very, very rare, I will sit in there and we will walk through things. So it's not like they're in there by themselves. It's just, they got to let me know if that does come about. Because if not, I just kind of let them be, or we kind of change the modality, or get them up, walk them to the bathroom, come back, reset, and restart.
Dan,
so do you give them something to think about, or just here you go, relax, and we'll check on you a little bit, and you just know that their brain will naturally start to feel like think positive and work its way through the thoughts?
Correct. And if you try and go one direction versus the other and fight it, sometimes that can cause some frustration with the treatment session. So a lot of times I say, okay, focus on what your brain brings about versus tracking it one direction.
Cool. Go ahead, Jake.
At the time that I started ketamine treatment, I was severely depressed to a level that I hadn't even shared with anybody. I was suicidal almost all the time, and I didn't see a purpose to doing anything. And I had also, I should mention that I was also doing therapy. I was also seeing another provider in the same office for, regular medication management. I had done EMDR. I had done somatic processing with a trauma coach. I had done a lot of other things. So it's hard to say for sure it was only ketamine. But what I can tell you is that before ketamine, I had a really hard time getting rid of that depression. And even now, I'm at a point now where my next appointment isn't until I'm stretching them out every 2 weeks. And I haven't had one of those thoughts in I don't know how long. And it's like I almost don't even believe it myself, because it just kind of went away. And it's not that I intentionally did anything other than go to the clinic and do the treatments.
Wow. That's a testimony right there. You guys listening, seriously. I don't need to be the voice of it. Jake just told you. It may not work for you, but he's telling you what worked for him. No matter what you say about Spravato or ketamine, it doesn't change his experience. It's helped him, and I think that's pretty cool. And I think as first responders, we can sometimes be closed off to help like this. And maybe it's upsetting some people that I'm even talking about it on the podcast, but I see there's nothing wrong with this. It's just like any other medicine. It's not. I heard somebody say it. I think it might have been at that conference. Like, oh, so it's just a legal way for you guys to sit around and be high, and it's like, no, I think there's more to that. It's not a bunch of people just sitting around watching Dazed and Confused taking ketamine. Because this is help that's out there, and try it. It may work for you. I cannot honestly, like I wish your clinic was open so I could get started. I want to get started, but I'll be patient. I know there's some other clinics out there that do that, which is awesome.
And one thing too with our clinic, what I'm really going to focus on as well, the biggest thing is finding a ride. The logistics of it is probably the hardest part. The easiest part is coming to the appointment and sitting and having a break. So we are actually going to work with our patients as far as transportation goes. If they don't have a ride, working with them and pairing up with Lyft or Uber or having our own driver. So that will also be a benefit to our patients.
Smart. Yeah, because some people may have the time to do it, but they may not have a buddy or a spouse that's able to come and sit for. And you say is it sit for an hour or two?
Yep. And our hours, initially before it was 8 to 5, but my plan is to allow for some nighttime hours just for people who work an 8 to 5 job, and then potentially a Saturday as well. So we'll kind of see what the need is and work with our patients and make sure that they get the help that they need.
Okay. And sometimes I got to ask questions because I just got to know them. Why isn't this legislated to where people can use Spravato at home in their bed? I mean, what is the concern that for it to be medically supervised? Because for some people, that's what they're thinking. And honestly, it was one of my first thoughts. But then I know that there's a reason why there's medical supervision over this. So you want to kind of explain that a little bit?
So some of the adverse side effects, it may cause an increase in blood pressure. So patients, as they come in, have to have at least a controlled blood pressure. Usually the first time it is a little elevated just because they're a little nervous with their first session. But the concern is the elevated blood pressure. And I have had some patients that dissociate a little bit more than others, usually the older population. So we kind of start with the lower dose and monitor closer because it's just good to have a medical provider to redirect.
Yeah.
There are some home ketamine treatment options available, but it's a sublingual tablet, and you have to check in with a provider before and after the session. But again, my thing is if there's an adverse reaction, at least in the clinic, somebody can see them, can manage them and help them walk them through things. Because there's sometimes that I couldn't even imagine if the patient side effect would happen at home.
Right. And it's always so much better to do supervised care. I mean, I know there's other cares out there that you can do. You can get online and kind of do it backdoor wise, but it's very important to do it in a safe way with somebody who's medically trained.
Get away from your house and go to a place that's quiet and meant for relaxation and quiet.
Again, Jake, when you were in there, you know, PTSD, it's what a lot of us deal with. When you're sitting in there, do you worry at all? Like, you know, somebody coming in, you know what I mean? Like we don't put our backs to the doors in restaurants, right? So when you're in there, do you feel safe, right? You've told me you feel safe. Like you don't feel like you can you feel like you can put your guard down when you're in their office. You're not worried about, you know, you're able to relax without worrying about somebody coming in and attacking you. Or, do you know what I'm saying? You know how our brain messes with us?
Yeah, initially that was a big concern of mine, and it was a reason that I talked myself out of doing ketamine therapy several different times. I knew that it would likely put me in a state of what I just thought of as vulnerability. Not that I thought there's, madmen running around a clinic all the time, but I just, like you're saying, you get really paranoid as a first responder, especially when you develop mental health conditions. And so Amanda was the only person that I had really ever known of or met that I was willing to do it with, because I had a personal connection, and I knew she understood first responders in a different way. And so, yeah, getting started with her was for me probably the only way I was going to do it. I can say, looking back, that I was just being a little too extra about that, because now like Amanda said, she's parted ways with the clinic, and I still receive treatments from that clinic currently. And at this point, I'm used to it, and it doesn't matter to me what's going on around me or who's involved. I just know how it goes. So overall, I would say, yeah, you definitely want to establish some level of trust and understanding. with whoever your provider is going in, but it just gets easier over time once you know what's going to happen.
So I know some people that's been in the military, that when they get surgeries done, they have to let the military know. They bring somebody in to be in the surgical room during it to make sure that the person doesn't say anything that's protected government stuff. Because, you hear about people when they go into surgery or whatever, all of a sudden they start loopy and they're talking about things they shouldn't be talking about. When somebody comes in and they're on a ketamine treatment, is it all of a sudden you're just spewing out everything and acting a fool? Or you have
No.
full control over your body, your voice, what you say? It's not like you're drunk on vodka or anything like that, right? You have control of
you have control, but I kind of relate it a little bit to drinking. Like, you still know what you're saying, and you still have control of saying it, but it's not you don't remember what you said type of thing. And honestly, people are so relaxed, like they don't really care to say much to me. Usually I just check in and see how they're doing, and if they're having any side effects. If not, just leave them be and check their vitals and leave them in the room.
The way I feel personally, I don't know if this is everybody's experience, is I wouldn't say like I'm afraid to say something, but I'm not afraid to say that I've smoked marijuana before, and I've been too high. And if you can relate to that, you can get to a point where you're like afraid to say anything because you feel like you're going to sound stupid. And that's kind of how it is for me. I don't really want to talk to anybody because I feel like I'm going to sound weird or say something off the wall. Amanda maybe has heard me say something off the wall. I don't know, but it makes me not want to talk at all personally.
So if you walk in and you're stressed out because you have all this stuff going on in your life and you got to get your treatment because you got this going on and your life's going, so you go in there, you get your treatment and you sit down and you're thinking about this big thing at work. Can you then switch that off and get down to the core issues that you're really dealing with? Sometimes I have trouble getting past that main level of distraction to even calm my brain to where it's in a situation where I can have a safe place to encounter healing. So it kind of gets that busyness out of your head and you're able to calm.
Yes. So all those thoughts will slowly come down, and you may even just start picking one away. Start thinking about this one. Okay, you're going to do this later. Oh, we want to make sure we do this. So it puts into a filing cabinet. So you do one file at a time and able to process it, whether it's the stuff you got to do today, which usually it's not. Usually that your mind takes you a completely different route, and you're able to work on some things that you do need to work on.
Cool. I've gone in very relaxed and very worked up, and there is a difference. You get benefits both ways, for sure, and you come out of the treatment feeling much better no matter what. The times that I've had a half an hour or an hour beforehand to myself to meditate, to get myself centered and grounded, I've gotten much more out of it. But as we know, when we have PTSD and other mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, that's not always possible. So I have gone in there just on edge, and it's still been fine. It's still been very helpful. I just think if you can ground yourself, it's more beneficial.
Have you ever walked out with more anxiety? Be honest.
No.
Okay.
Not even close. Okay.
Just curious. It's nice to know that it can calm you like that, because sometimes that's where most of us have trouble, is getting that buzzing noise of busyness and craziness to calm down.
You really got to focus, or not focus. You should be careful about who picks you up. I'll say that, and what condition they are in. Because I have had some times where I've been picked up, and
unpack that.
What's that?
Unpack that. What do you mean by that?
So I've had times where I come out of there just feeling really good and like introspective and just ready to kind of like build on that through the rest of the day or the afternoon. And if I've been picked up by someone who is very anxious, or just came from an overstimulating environment, those energies can clash a little bit. And again, it's not that it doesn't make it doesn't ruin it, but if you can pick up someone who understands, or again, can be picked up by someone who understands what you just did, and will support you correctly, that's better. That's ideal.
No, that's good to know. That's the type of information we want to be able to share, is what's the smoothest route for first responders to go through. And that's good. So maybe not get picked up by the wife who who's ready to beat you to death because of all the, maybe get picked up by somebody who doesn't want to, wants to add peace to your life at the moment.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dan.
I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about our first responders.
I will say too, if some people are a little bit more anxious coming in for a couple of their visits or just want somebody to sit with them, they can have family members sit with them. We do allow that. You can have, if you want to do a treatment session with your spouse, as long as they've gone through the same clearance, always an option, which I think that's beneficial as well.
Wow.
So just allowing them to process things together too, to understand the treatment plan as well. So
that is huge. You can have people come in and sit with you. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So if you do have that fear of, I don't want to go in there and be vulnerable and all that stuff, okay, bring somebody with you.
Yep.
Somebody who.
Yep.
Somebody calm. Bring somebody with you. That's one of the.
Yep. Or your
trauma coach. There you go.
Been through it before.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of this podcast is for awareness. If you're afraid to go to the Amanda's clinic by yourself, reach out to Jake or I. We'll go with you. I'm going to go.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do this alone. Go ahead, Jake. What were you going to say?
I said, absolutely. I'd be, more than willing to help however I can with that. I do, we talked before we started recording about, I have plans to put together specific programs for before and after, what to expect and then how to integrate it afterwards and some of my own takeaways, that type of thing. But yeah, absolutely. I would definitely, I'd be willing to, when it comes to a first responder, especially a first responder in crisis, call, we can talk about it. We can talk all the way through it beforehand.
Do you journal?
When I can sit still long enough.
Yeah. I was just curious. It's very valuable. I just kind of been one of those people too that I have trouble with it. I know now they have these, what do they call them? These journal where you just do like one line a day for the same day every year. It's like a 5-year journal or something like that. But it's very valuable. And I heard you say that, Amanda, about journaling, because when you start the healing process of healing from PTSD and depression and that kind of stuff, as you start to heal, you almost kind of forget where you were. So to be able to journal your journey of healing, even if it's just once a week, but even once a day, to be able to journal your thoughts and feelings for a little while as you're going through your healing, you will then be able to go back and look and see where you were and all the progress that you actually made on the days where you are sad and depressed and don't want to get out of bed because you feel like you've made no progress. These journals can go back and help you realize the struggles you've gone through, the strength you've used to overcome those, the growth you've made. Because we want to be focused on that when we're down in our dumps or having an episode, is we want to focus on the positive stuff we've been doing. Because as soon as we get out of that bad episode, it's time to get right back on the horse and we start getting right back into healing. We give ourselves grace and healing and we move forward. I would really advise you guys that are listening to check this out. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to do a podcast on it when I get done, when I do some treatments. I want to air it. I want to talk to you guys about it, my own experience. And Amanda, so October 1st is we're hoping for somewhere around there for an opening date. And that's not poured in concrete yet. But if somebody wants to get started now, is there anything they can do to reach out to you, or do we just kind of need to hold off for right now?
They can feel free to call me, text me, message me.
What do you prefer?
Probably text, so then that way if I'm in the middle of something, I can at least take some time and respond, or call them when I have a moment. I am a mom of 2 boys and busy trying to get all my charting and all my meetings done. So I can make sure I take some time for people, and I can do telehealth visits too beforehand, just even to consult and discuss the treatment plan before we actually have the doors open.
And what's that number?
Yep, 515-822-6384.
Okay, so that's 515-822-6384. Just one more time, 515-822-6384.
That's for Revitalize.
For IV
hydration, IV ketamine, or intranasal ketamine, or just mental health evaluation, talking, resources from a first responder.
What was the first thing you said in that list?
IV hydration.
Okay. So lot of times I'm dealing with first responders who are trying to get better, trying to get sober, right? And they go through that detox phase where it's very painful and ugly and it's awful.
Yes.
Can that help with that? The rehydration deal?
Yes. Yep.
That's great because I've been through that. When you're detoxing, it's no fun. And a lot of it is fluid issues. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
So then you have that, the ketamine treatment. Awesome. So they don't have, so to go back, it doesn't have to be their doctor that refers them, but it can be. But if not, they can go directly to you and they can have a consult with you. They don't have to go through their
Correct.
main provider. And
Yep. But it can speed up the process if their mental health provider basically sends over their last office note, just to get things going through insurance quicker.
Okay. Makes sense. And then, so insurance, you said insurance covers it, but how much do they cover? So, and I know every insurance is different, but like, Blue Cross Blue Shield's a big one around here, and I know they have multiple different plans, but what generally is the out of price cost for somebody that comes to the clinic if their insurance?
So there's a couple different ways to do it. So right now I'm only charging an office visit. So whatever a normal office visit would be as you go to a mental health provider or a doctor's office. And then the pharmacy contacts them directly for the drug cost.
Okay, so that goes through the pharmacy then. Gotcha.
Correct. So all depending on kind of if you have a tier, a copay for meds, or if you have a high deductible, essentially you have to do out-of-pocket high deductible until your deductible is met.
Dan, I pay, I don't know how much is ordered every time. You can speak to this, Amanda, but when the drug is ordered, I pay $18. And then each time I go to the office, it's a $10 copay.
Wow. Okay. I was thinking like 100 or 200 or.
And I have health partners through Unity Point, which is notoriously not great. So I would imagine there's better plans.
Yeah.
And initially, it may seem like a lot of money when they first get contacted by the pharmacy. However, there's multiple copay cards. There's different things that they can get money back. So there's definitely, as far as Spravato side of things, that they work with the patients to make sure it's affordable. And then there's also one that if somebody doesn't make enough money, can't pay for it, it's like a grant essentially, and they automatically send the medication at no cost to the patient.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's great to know. I never would have known. So it actually goes through your drug coverage plan for that side of it, and then your side of it, the doctor side comes out of the. Okay.
And then as far as insurances go, I'll just kind of cover those real quick. So I take Blue Cross Blue Shield, working on United Healthcare, Health Partners is another one. We'll be taking Medicare as well. And then cash price for the IV ketamine. If I don't take any of the insurances, or if it is an insurance that we can work through and work on credentialing, all based off of the patient's need, we can work on that.
Okay. And I get asked this all the time. Some of our first responders, especially ones that are retired or left the job early, do you guys take state insurance? I assume not.
Not Medicaid right now, but we do take Medicare.
Okay, you do take Medicare. Good to know. That's awesome.
I will say though, Medicare, usually it's very expensive because the copay cards do not qualify. So a lot of times with them, it's cheaper if you just do the IV.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, our time's kind of wrapping up here, but thank you so much. That was a wealth of information. Again, we're going to have you on again if you will allow us to bring you back on. Mm-hmm. And when you get your clinic open, I want to be one of your first patients. So maybe you and I should get started on the pre-stuff, the pre-paperwork and all that kind of stuff to get going. And I recommend you guys, if you think this might be a good treatment, pray about it, talk to your spouse about it. But there's multiple different treatments out there to help first responders. This is another one. And this is one that I've heard great things about. It's one that I've heard help change lives. I mean, Jake said that earlier. It was one of the things that helped him the most.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
go ahead.
Look me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Jake Belay on Facebook, at Jake Belay on Instagram. Send me a message if you want to talk about it. Totally confidential. I'll tell you everything that you want to know based on my own experience. I'm not Amanda, but if you're not ready to, actually call the clinic, you just want to talk to a former cop who's done it, just feel free. Look me up on social media.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. That was fun. I learned a lot and I'm really excited, Amanda. I wish your clinic was open today. But I'm excited. I'm glad that you are taking that leap of faith, because I think it'll be very fruitful, not just for you, but very fruitful for all of your patients and the healing they can get. And thank you for doing that. And I know it won't be, it won't be a perfect ride as you go through this from this day on, but there's going to be ups and downs. And I just thank you for being willing to step in and take that battle for us. I think it's cool. I really think that, especially the more we talk about it, the more first responders will reach out and add this to their treatment plan. So thank you, Amanda. Again, her number is 515-822-6384. Get a hold of her. Also, you can reach out to us at our podcast at 10-42project.org. Jake and Amanda, thank you so much. You guys have been a blessing. And see you next week.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. And that wraps up another episode from the 1042 Project Shared Voices podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And just a reminder, we are a 501c3. If you guys can support us, you can go to our website, or if you know an organization or a company or your church may want to get involved in supporting 1042 Project's mission of equipping, restoring, and repurposing our first responders, please reach out to us at 10-42project.org. There is a giving page on there. We need your help. We need your support. If you can't give financially, please be willing to share the word of our podcast, of our organization, and the work that God's doing. Thank you, and have a blessed week.